And we're back with Book 5 of the Odyssey. Or it's Book 5. Book 15 of the Odyssey. How Telemachos sailed back to Ithica. So we're finally back on the Telemachos storyline after, it's been, I don't know, chapter 3, 4 was the last time we saw him, and now we're back. So let's see about how Telemachos sailed back to Ithaca. So Pallas Athena went on her way to Lacedaemon to remind Telemachos that it was high time to return. She found him and Nestor's son sleeping in the open gallery before the mansion of Menelaus. At least one of them was sound asleep. But Telemachos was too anxious about his father, and he had been restless all night. Athena came to his side and said, Don't dally in this valley, Telemachos. I tell ye, this is a pun on his name. You may be Telemachos the fighting man, but you should not be Telemachos the loafing man, and Telemachos the feckless man as well. Okay. Don't dally in the valley, Telemachos, I tell ye. Remember your estates and the bullies in your house. They will eat everything up among them, while you are wasting your pains on this journey. You must take leave of Menelaus if you want to find your dear mother still in your house. For her father and brothers are urging her to marry Eurymachus. He is easily first in the matter of bridal gifts. He is just piling them up. Take care that she does not take something with her that you would not like to lose. You know what a woman's mind is like. She wishes to enrich the man who marries her, but as for the other husband and his children, once he is dead and she forgets them all and never asks about them. The best thing you can do is go back to work and put everything in the hands of one good woman. Hands of one of the women, whichever you think the best, until the gods provide you a good, capable wife. There's something else I want you to know. Don't forget it. The leading men of that company are lying in wait for you in the strait between Ithaca and Samos, and they mean to kill you before you can get home. But I don't think they will do it. Before that can happen, the earth will cover some of those men who are devouring your substance. You must keep your ship away from the islands, and go through the night. The god who protects you and saves you will send a fair following wind. And as soon as you first touch the shore of Ithaca, leave the ship and all the crew to go on to the town. But land yourself, and go first to the swineherd in charge of your hogs, who is true and faithful to you. Stay the night there, send him into the town, and let him tell your mother, who is a sensible woman, that you have come back from Pylos safe and sound. As soon as Athena had said this, she returned to high Olympus. Telemachos turned to his friend sleeping soundly in his bed, and stirred him up with his foot, saying, Get up, Master Pisistratus. Bring along the horses and let us be off. Pisistratus answered, My dear man, why all this hurry? We can't travel at night in the darkness. It will be morning soon. At least wait till his grace the royal champion Menelaus can bring his presents and put them in the car and bid us an affectionate farewell before we go. That's what a guest remembers to his dying day, when a hospitable man has been kind to him. As he spoke, the dawn rose enthroned in gold, and there was the royal champion himself coming out of bed. Coming out of bed already. And Helen still asleep. When Telemachos saw him, he lost no time, but put on his tunic and threw the wrap over his sturdy shoulders, and went out to greet him. He said, My lord King Menelaus, I beg you let me take my leave at once, for I desire most earnestly to go home at once. The king replied, My dear Telemachos, I am not the man to delay you if you wish to go. I think it most improper that any one in the place of a host should go too far in his likes and too far in his dislikes. The best rule is moderation in all things. You may take it that it is equally bad manners to press your guest to go if he wants to stay, and to stay if he wants to go. Yes, feed him if he wants to stay. Speed him if he'd go away. This line, called an interpolation by the editors, is exactly in keeping with the speaker's character. He cannot even keep his tags out of his prayers, as we see in the Iliad. We gotta check out this Iliad. We gotta check out this Iliad. That's all I know. Still, you might stay while I fetch you my parting gifts and pack them in the car. Something nice. You haven't seen it yet. And let me tell the women to get you a good breakfast in hall. There are 2 good reasons for that. It is a proper attention on my part. And it will do you good to have a good feed before you go on a long journey to the ends of the earth. But if you will go traipsing all over the country, all right, only let me come too. I will yoke up, and I'll introduce you to the various towns. No one shall let us go just as we came. Something he shall give us to take back home. Say a bronze tripod, or cauldron, or a pair of mules, or a gold cup. Telemachos answered politely, My lord King Menelaus, with your grace's leave. I wish to return home at once, for I have left no guardian behind me to look after the estate. I have my fears that in seeking for my noble father I may be lost myself. Or at least something worth keeping may be lost from my house. When the great champion heard this, at once he told his wife and servants to get ready a good breakfast in hall. Eteonius Boethiades was up already and waiting, for he lived close by. Menelaus told him to light the fire and grill something, and he got to work at once. The king went down himself to the vaults, not alone, for Helen and Megapenthes went with him. When they reached the treasure chamber, the king chose a 2-handled cup, and told his son Megapenthes to take a silver mixing bowl. Helen was at her coffers, where she kept the robes she had made herself, covered with beautiful embroidery. She chose out of the largest of these, which had the finest work on it, and shone like a star. It lay right at the bottom. Then they all came back to Telemachos, and Menelaus said, Now then, Telemachos, I beseech Zeus, the loud thunder, lord of Hera, to fulfill your heart's desire, and I will offer you the finest and most precious of all my treasures. It is a mixing bowl of solid silver, the lips finished off with gold, a genuine Hephaestus. Phaedemos gave it to me when I stayed in his house on my way home. He is the king of Sidon, you must know. And now I offer it to you. With these words, he handed the cup to him, and Megapenthes placed before him the splendid silver mixing bowl. Lovely Helen was beside him with her robe, and she said, I also bring you this gift, dear boy, something to remind you of Helen, who made it with her own hands. Keep it until your wedding day, and on that happy day, give it to your wife. Until then, let your mother keep it for you. I pray that you may return safe to your home and your native land. So she laid the robes in his hands, and he received it, beaming with joy. Pisistratus took all the gifts and packed them into the basket, gazing at them with admiration. Then Menelaus led them into the hall, and they took their places, while a maid brought the hand-wash in a golden jug, and poured it over their hands into a silver basin as usual. The dignified housekeeper brought bread, and Boethiades served the meat, and the son of Menelaus poured the wine. They helped themselves. To the good things that were set before them, and when they had taken enough, Telemachos and Pisistratus yoked the horses and got in themselves. As they moved away from the portal, Menelaus went after them, holding in his right hand a golden cup, full of honey-hearted wine, that they might pour the libation before they started. He stood before the horses and pledged his guests, saying, Farewell, my lads. Give my greetings to King Nestor. Indeed, he was kind as a father to me when we Achaeans were in camp before Troy. Telemachos answered politely, You may be sure of that, my lord king. We will give him your message. I wish I were so sure of finding Odysseus in Ithaca to hear about it when I get there, as I am sure you have treated me handsomely in every way, and given me grand treasure to take home with me." As he uttered these words, a good omen came. A bird flew over to the right, an eagle, carrying in his claws a huge white goose which he had caught up from a farmyard. And there were the men and women following with shouts. The eagle passed close to them and shot over in front of the horses towards the right. At that sight, all felt a deep glow of satisfaction. But Pisistratos was the first to speak. "What do you think, King Menelaus? Was that omen intended for us too, or just for you?" Our champion Menelaus did not know quite what to say, or how he should interpret this omen properly. But Helen did not leave him time to answer. She spoke up herself. "Let me speak. I will utter the words of prophecy which the immortals put into my heart, which I believe will come true. As that bird has come from his native mountains, and caught up this goose from the house where it was bred, so Odysseus, after much tribulation, and many wanderings, shall come to his house, and take his vengeance. Or perhaps he is at home already, and laying plans for the destruction of all those men." Telemachos answered at once, "So may Zeus grant it to be, the loud thunderer, lord of Hera. Then I will offer thanks to you also in my own place, as if you also were a god." As he spoke, he touched up the horses, and they galloped on through the city in fine fettle. So all day long they kept the yoke dancing on their necks. The sun went down, and all the roads were darkened, and they came to Pherai, the house of Diocles. He was the son of Ortilokos, whose father was the river god Alpheus. There they spent the night, and their host gave them gifts as a host ought to do. When the rosy fingers of dawn showed through the mists, they yoked their horses and got into their car and drove away from the portal of the echoing gallery. Pisistratus touched up the horses, and they flew along with a will. Soon they reached the tall fortress of Pylos. And then Telemachos said to his companion, "Nestorides, old fellow, will you do something for me? Say yes. We call ourselves friends by our father's friendship, and we are both young men. This journey will make us better friends than ever. Don't drive past my ship. There's a good fellow. Leave me here, or the old gentleman will delay me out of pure good nature. But I simply must hurry on." The young man mused a moment how he could oblige his friend without forgetting his duty. It seemed best on the whole to do as he was asked, so he turned the horses towards the seashore. Then he took out the treasures, the robe and the gold which Menelaus had given, and put them on board. And without any shilly-shallying, he bade his friend make haste. "Look sharp now, on board with you, and call your men. Get it done before I can go and tell the news to the old gentleman. I understand his masterful ways quite well. He'll never let you go. He'll come down here himself and insist. He will not go back without you. An angry man he will be, that is certain." With these words he drove off towards the city, and soon found himself at home. But Telemachos urged his men to hurry. "In with the gear, you men! In with yourselves, and let us be off!" They lost no time in obeying. In a trice they were on their benches. While he was busy with this, and offering prayer and sacrifice to Athena beside the ship, a man suddenly appeared. He came from a far country, banished from Argos for killing someone. Oh my God, this is it. It's him. He was a prophet who traced his descent from Melampus. His ancestor had been settled in Pylos, the mother of sheep, as men called it. He was a rich man and lived in a splendid mansion, but he had been obliged to leave the country and seek another home for fear of Neleus, and that proud imperious prince seized his great property and kept it for a whole year. Meanwhile, he was himself kept a prisoner in the house of Phylacos. That was a cruel imprisonment for him, full of humiliation, and it all came from the daughter of Neleus. and the blind infatuation which the destroying avenger brought upon the father. However, he escaped death. He drove the cows from Phylace to Pylos, and made King Neleus pay for his disgraceful doings, and married the girl to his brother. Okay, no, that's okay. I thought it was, no, it's not him. Para was the daughter of Neleus. She was not to marry unless the bridegroom could present the cows of Iphiclus, brought from Phylace. Melampus tried to carry them off, but he was caught and imprisoned, and Neleus seized his property. Melampus made friends with Iphiclus by his gift of divination, and the cows were given to him. He gave them to his brother, who married the princess. Oof. But he went abroad himself to Argos, for there he was destined to live as ruler over the nation of great horsemen. There he married a wife and built a great palace and had 2 strong sons, Antiphates and Mantios. Antiphates was the father of Eurycles, and Eurycles the father of Amphiros, the man who collected the famous army against Thebes, one who was very dear to Zeus Almighty and Apollo. But he did not set foot on the threshold of old age, for he perished at Thebes to satisfy a greedy woman. What? His wife, Eriphyle, was bribed with a necklace to persuade him to join the expedition which he knew would fail? Who is this guy? His sons were Alcmaeon and Amphilokos. Mantios was the father of Polyphetes and Cleitos. Of these, Cleitos was carried off for his beauty by Eos Golden Throne. And taken to be among the immortals. Polyphetes, by Apollo's grace, became the greatest prophet in the world after Amphiaraos died. He quarreled with his father and went away to Hyperesia, where he was all the world's prophet as long as he lived. It was the son of this man who appeared before Telemachos. Okay. Wow. It was the son of this man who appeared before Telemachos, as I have said. His name was Theoclymenos. His name was Theoclymenos. He found Telemachos in the midst of his prayer beside the ship, and cried out to him in plain words, "My friend, as I find you offering sacrifice in this place, by your sacrifice I adjure you, and by the god, nay, by your own head and your companions, tell me truly and hide it not. Who are you? What is your country and your family?" Telemachos answered, "Very well, sir. I will tell you all you ask. I come from Ithica. My father is Odysseus, as surely as there ever was such a man. But now he is lost, to my great sorrow. For that reason I provided this ship and crew and came to find out why he is so long away." The prophet answered, "I had to leave my country like you. I killed a man of my own kin. There are many brothers and kinsmen of his in Argos, men of great power in the nation. I had to take flight from them, or I was a dead man. It seems I was destined to be a wanderer on the face of the earth. Now I beg you, take me on board, since I am a fugitive and your suppliant, or they will kill me. I am sure they are on my track." Telemachos answered, "I will not drive you from my ship, since you desire to join us. So come along. When we arrive, you shall have the best entertainment we can give." So he's just aiding and abetting this murderer guy. No questions asked. Got it, Telemachos. Okay. He took the spear from the man's hand, and he's armed. He took the spear from the man's hand and laid it upon the deck. Then he went on board himself and sat down on the afterdeck, where Theoclymenos at his side. The hawsers were cast off. Telemachos gave the word, and the men quickly stepped to the mast and made fast the forestays, and hoisted the sail by its ropes of twisted leather. Athena sent a following wind. which went fanning them briskly along, to bring the ship over the salt sea to her goal. The sun set, and all the ways were darkened, and the ship stood for fair eye running before the wind. Past Krunoi and Chalkis they sailed, and past Elis, where the Epians hold the country. From thence, Telemachos set his course for the points of the island, turning over in his mind the chances of life and death. Meanwhile, in the hut, Odysseus and the swineherd were supping, and the other men with them. When they had finished, Odysseus spoke to Eumaeus. Okay, we're back to Odysseus here. He's about to... Okay, here we go. Odysseus spoke to Eumaeus, for he wanted to see whether he would invite him hospitably to stay in the hut or send him down to the city. Look here, Eumaeus, he said, and you other men. Tomorrow morning I want to go and beg in the town, for I don't like to be a burden on you all. Now then, advise me, and give me a guide to show the way, but I must go about the town myself, to crave a cup and a crust. I should also like to find the house of Odysseus, and tell my news to the noble lady, and have a try at those high and mighty bridegrooms to be. Perhaps they will give me a meal, for they live on the fat of the land. I should be quite ready to turn a hand to anything they want doing. For I tell you one thing, and don't you forget it, by favor of God's messenger Hermes, who bestows grace and glory on all the works of man, there's not a man alive who comes near me for hard work, piling up a good fire, chopping dry wood, carving and cooking and serving wine, all that common men do for the gentry. Eumaeus flared up at this and said, Mercy on us, my good soul, what on earth put that into thy head? 'Tis asking for certain death, then and there, if thou'rt set on going among those fellows. Why, their violence and outrage cries out to the brazen sky. Their servants are not a bit like thee. Young men dressed up fair and smart, sleek heads and pretty faces. That's what their servants be. Polished tables loaded with bread and meat and wine. No, stay here. Nobody minds that here, neither I nor my friends. Then if the master's son comes along, he'll give thou a coat and shirt to wear, and help thou wherever thou'd fain go. Odysseus answered, May Father Zeus bless you as I do, Eumaeus, for giving a rest to my wanderings and my heavy troubles. Well, since you want me to stay here and wait for the young man, be so kind as to tell me about your master's mother and his father, who were on the threshold of old age when he left. Are they still alive? Do they still see the light of the sun? Or are they dead and buried? The swineherd answered. So this is Odysseus talking to Eumaeus. Eumaeus is the swineherd. The swineherd answered, Very well, thou shalt have the whole story from end to end. Laertes is still alive, but every day he prays that his spirit may leave his old body, for he is terribly afflicted by his son's going away, and the death of his own true wife. Oh, this is the swineherd. Which a cruel blow for him made him old before his time. She died, grieving for that famous son of hers, poor soul. I hope no one near and dear to me may have such a death. As long as she lived for all her sorrow, I'd gladly go and ask after her, and hear the news. By reason she bred me up herself, along with her own little maid, Clymene, her youngest, the picture of health she was in her long frock. Yes, we grew up together, and I was most one of the family. But when we both began to grow up as happy as the day was long, they married her away to Sammy. And what thousands of presents there was. The lady dressed me up in a fine coat and shirt and a new pair of boots, and sent me on the farm, but in her heart she loved me more than ever. How I miss all that now, although for mysin the blessed gods give increase to the work which I do. It brings me food and drink, and somewhat for those that have a claim on me, but the mistress has no comfortable word or deed for me now. Since trouble has fallen upon the house, rude and violent men are there. Yet servants do greatly desire to speak before the mistress, and hear all the news, and have somewhat to eat and drink. Then somewhat to take home with them. Those things do warm their hearts. Odysseus answered, Upon my word, swineherd, you must have traveled from far your own country and your parents when you were a little tot. Tell me the whole story, please. Was it a great wide city you lived in with your father and mother in a big house? Did the enemy take it and carry you off? Or were you alone, looking after sheep or cattle, and the pirates sailed away with you and sold you into this man's house for a good price? Then Eumaeus told his story. Art my guess, he said, and thou shalt hear the story of my life. Hearken now quietly, and I hope it may please thee. There's sleep and there's talk for them that list. But sit thou down and drink thy liquor. The nights are terrible long. There's no sense in turning in too early. Too much sleep is a nuisance. You other fellows may go out and sleep if you like, and in the morning have a feed and drive out the master's pigs. We two will stay in the hut. We'll eat and drink and cheer us up by telling our tales of sorrow as we call 'em to mind. There is a comfort even in trouble when it's over and done with. If a man has suffered much and travelled far, very well, thou shalt have the whole yarn. There is an island called Syre, in there, if th'ever heard tell of it, above Ortygia. Near the sun's turning points, not so very rich, but a good place. Good for cattle and sheep, plenty of wine, plenty of wheat. The people don't know what hunger is, and as far as disease, none ever comes near there to plague poor mortals. But when folks grow old in that country, Apollo comes with Artemis, and carries his silver bow, and shoots them with his gentle shafts, and kills them. There are 2 cities, half the island with each, and my father was king of both. His name was Theseus, or Menides, and a heavenly man he was. A ship came there with a crew of seafaring Phoenicians, those nip screws with a cargo of trinkets and thousands. There was a Phoenician wench in my father's house, a big bouncing creature and clever at all sorts of work, and those cunning swindlers befooled her. She was at her washing near the ship, and one of them lay with her, hugging and kissing. Will befool any female woman, clever or no. Well, he up and asks her who she was and where she came from. I come from Sidon, she says, and where she came from. I come from Sidon, she says, a wealthy city, and my father was Erebus, a man rolling in riches. A gang of Taphian pirates caught me coming in from the country, and carried me off, and brought me here, and sold me into that man's house, she says, pointing to the roof of my father's great house, and they made him pay a good price. The man said, Well then, why'd thou come back with us, to see thy father and mother in their great house? They are still alive and wealthy, they say. The woman answered, Yes, I might do that, if you will all swear an oath to take me home safe and sound. All the lads took the oath as she told them. And after that the woman said, Now keep a still tongue. If you meet me in the road or at the fountain, not one word to me. Someone may go and tell the old man. He might suspect summat, and tie me tight, fasten me up, and plan some mischief against you. Keep your talk to yourselves. Hurry up with your chaffering. And when you have got plenty of stuff on board, send a message up to the house at once. For I will bring with me any gold I can lay my hands on. I could bring you something else to pay my passage, and glad to do it. I have to look after the gentleman's little boy, just as canny a brat as can be. Trots about with me everywhere out the doors. I could bring him aboard with me. And you might get a grand price for him, if you sell him somewhere in foreign parts. So that was her notion, and back she went to the great house. The foreigners remained a whole year with us, and got their ship full of stuff by trading. When the ship was reet full up and ready to go, they sent someone to tell the wench. He was a very shrewd lad who came to our house, and he brought a necklace of gold and amber beads. All the maids were in hall, and my mother too, fingering it, passing it round, staring with all their eyes, bargaining. While this was going on, the man quietly nods to that wench, gives her a nod, and away goes back to the ship. She clips me by the hands. She clips me by the hand and takes me out. In the fore hall, and she found tables with cups on them. There had been a dinner for some people who had been busy with my father, and they had gone on to the Parliament Place. In a twink, she picks up 3 cups, hides them in her bosom, and carries them out. I followed like a little innocent. The sun went down, and all the roads became dark, and we reached the harbor. There were the Phoenicians with their ship. They took us on board, and away they sailed over the sea. Zeus sent him a fair wind. 6 days and 6 nights we sailed. When the 7th day came, Artemis Archeress shot the wench, and down she went plump into the bilge, like a sea diver. They threw her overboard for seals and fishes to play with, and I was left unhappy. Wind and water carried them to Ithica, and then Laertes bought me. That is how I came to set eyes on this country. Odysseus said, "You have moved me deeply by your story, Eumaeus. You may have indeed suffered great trouble, but Zeus has given you good with the evil. There is no doubt about that. After those dangers, you have come into the hands of a kind master, who gives you food and drink generously, and you have a good living. But look at me. I have traveled all over the world, and this is what I have come to." They went on so long talking together, that when they did go to sleep, there was not much of the night left. Soon dawn came in all her majesty, and with the dawn Telemachos reached the land. The men furled sail and let down the mast smartly, and paddled into the roadstead. They dropped the anchoring stones, and made fast the moorings from the shore, then disembarked and prepared their meal on the beach, with good wine to wash it down. When they had had enough, Telemachos gave them his directions. "You sail on to the city, and I will find my way to the herdsmen on the farm. In the evening, when I have taken a look round the place, I will come down to the city myself. Tomorrow I will invite you to your way-feast, a good spread of victuals and drinks of the best." Then the prophet Theoclymenos asked, "And where shall I go, my son? Which of the lords of rocky Ithaca will give me shelter? Am I to go straight to your mother's house and yours?" Telemachos knew that would not do, and he answered, "I would have invited you at once to our house, for there is no lack of entertainment there. But as things are, you would not be comfortable by yourself, since I shall be away and my mother will not see you. She does not often appear when those men are present. She keeps clear of them and goes on with her weaving in her own rooms. But I tell you a good fellow to go to, Eurymachus Polybus. Eurymachus Polybus, the notable son of a wise father. A man whom the Ithacans now respect very highly. He is by far the best man, and most earnest to win my mother, and to hold the honors of Odysseus. But Zeus Olympian in the heavens knows whether he will bring the day of reckoning upon them before it comes to marriage." At the moment when he said this, a lucky bird appeared, a falcon towards the right, that swift messenger of Apollo. He held a dove and tore it with his talons, and the feathers fell in a shower between the ship and Telemachos. Theoclymenos drew him apart and said, as he grasped his hand, "Telemachos, not without God that bird came flying towards the right. I knew it was an omen as soon as I saw it. None is more royal than yours of all the families in Ithaca, and you shall be strong forever." Telemachos answered, "My guest, I pray that these words may be fulfilled. Then you would soon see a friendship and generous gifts from me, enough to make anyone envy you." Then he called his trusty companion Pereos, and said, "Pereos Clytides, of all our crew, you are always most ready to do me a good turn. Now then, Please take this stranger to your house and entertain him handsomely until I come. Get this guy out of here. Piraeus answered, "Why, of course I will look after him, however long you stay. He shall lack nothing that a guest ought to have." With these words, he went on board, and called for the rest to come aboard and cast loose. They were soon in their places by the oars. But Telemachos put on his boots and took his sharp spear from the deck. The hawsers were cast loose. The crew pushed off and set their course for the city, as Telemachos had told them to do. Then Telemachos marched away at a round pace, and came at last to the enclosure with its thousands of sows, and the honest swineherd sleeping beside them, so faithful to his masters. Oh, and look at that. Next book, book 16, How Telemachos Met His Father. Oh, what a reunion that will be. That's going to be good. All right, we'll check you next time.